Welcome to Tigray Media House. My name is Malitti Berhanamesko. It's been almost 1 year since the war on Tigray began. And over the past year, we've heard the stories out of Tigray told through various lenses. We've heard from the politicians. We've heard from the governmental agencies. We've heard from the humanitarian workers. We've heard from the various journalists. And in many cases, we've heard directly from Tigrayan people who were impacted on the ground. But today, on this 1 year mark, we are going to bring you stories about the Tigray genocide told through art and through music. Art and music have forever recorded what's happening in society. From a socio-political perspective, art has played a really powerful role in telling the stories of what's happening in society. And so today's guest, we are really honored to have Gabrielle Tesfaye. Gabrielle Tesfaye has created incredible art. I think we can call it protest art related to the Tigray genocide. And so first, I want to take a minute and hear from Gabrielle. I want you to tell me, what is protest art? How do you define protest art?
I think protest art is something that is created to bring awareness to an issue. Because right now we're flooded with, so much media, so many images that are really triggering for us to see. And protest art is something that is turning a time that is so difficult for us and also reflecting our emotions that we can't photograph, and raising awareness through images that are really getting the eyes of all people, not just expressing how we feel collectively, but also capturing the attention of the international community that we're trying to speak to about this issue.
Your work is pretty recognizable now. I was at a fundraiser earlier, maybe 3 months ago or so, for HPN, Health Professionals Network of Tigray. And I bought a beautiful piece of yours. All of your art sold out at that event. There were several pieces that you donated. People know who you are now, and your work really speaks to our hearts. How long have you been creating art? And has your art changed over the last year, or have you always created this type of art?
I've been creating art all my life. I decided at a young age I was going to be an artist. But at the start of the war, all of the art I've made has all been about the Tigray genocide, all of it. I really can't make anything that is outside of it. A lot of times I would make art about personal experiences before this started happening. But now, this war, it's such a public thing, but it also is a personal thing. This is personal to us. And what I'm painting is the emotions that I'm feeling. It helps me to cope, but it's what we're all feeling. And I think that's why my art has really captured the hearts of people in our community, because it's showing a mirror to what you're dealing with inside, to the suffering that we're feeling. And that's why it's been so powerful for people, not just Tagaru, but also non-Tagaru, our allies. They see these images of paintings and they're given this reflection of what we are experiencing internally. Yeah.
Wow. You said something really powerful about how, and I think people underestimate this, about how personal this is. And over the last year, there's been an actual physical war happening in Tigray. But for those of us in the diaspora, we've been at war as well, and we've been mentally in a whole nother country across the ocean, sort of in the middle of a war. And so it's, tell me, first of all, do you have family in Tigray? And have you heard anything about them? Let me just check in with you a little bit on that.
I have family, and no, I haven't heard from them recently.
I'm sorry to hear that. Of course, that's the story of so many of us. And that's what's so frustrating about this. Your work very realistically depicts parts of Tigray, ancient areas, ancient places. Have you been there? Have you been to those places, or are these stories that you just heard of? One of the things that has amazed me about the diaspora is there's so many young people who
Okay.
are fighting for their families who have never even been to Tigray. And
Yeah.
that, it blows my mind. And so your work, and I want to know if you've been to Tigray, but I want to read something that you wrote, a description about one of your pieces. You said,
Mm-hmm.
it's an ancient pillar of Tigray, stands in Aksum, overlooking this painful war through its windows and doorways of another time.
Mm-hmm.
That's really deep. So have
Mm-hmm.
you been to Tigray? And then I want to talk about that description that you just gave, because I think sometimes we think of art as a reflection, of something in the past. So when I think about the obelisks, which is what you were referring to,
Yeah.
I think about what was. But how you describe it as a window and a doorway, that opens up something entirely different. So have you been to Tigray? Have you been to all of these different places? And then
Mm-hmm.
talk about that particular piece, and what you think the ancestors are saying through those windows and
Mm-hmm.
through those doors.
Mm-hmm. So I have been to Tigray. I haven't yet to go to Opsum, which I really want to go because I paint it so much because the obelisk is such a stunning monument and pillar within our region. But I've been to Mekelle, and that's where my family is. So that's where I've been. And I can't wait to travel around the rest of the region and just, contribute to all of these places that I'm painting and researching and praying for every day. But that painting was reflecting on this ancient pillar that has been standing in Tigray since the third or fourth century. And I was reflecting on how many wars it's seen. Um, and that if you do research into what the obelisk means, I mean, it was built as a like tombstone for an ancient king, and how that structure in itself is to honor somebody who has passed away, but it has all these doors and windows. I mean, it's really mysterious, and I'm really inspired by the mystery and the ancient history that we have within Tigray. But I was really reflecting on that, like this structure, if it could speak, what would it say to us? What would our ancestors say to us? How many wars has it seen? Because this is not the first time, you know.
It's not the first time. It's not the first genocide on Tigray.
Mm.
What do you think? What do you think the ancestors are saying? What message do you
Mm.
think, if we could open up that door and have a conversation, what do you think
Mm.
we would hear?
Mm. To answer that, it reminds me of the other painting that you said that you have. One thing that's been keeping me going is I think they would give us the answer of keeping the future to Tigray in our hearts. That's one thing that's kept me going because ancestors are, I mean, they're family members who have passed away. There are people who are no longer with us. And so many of us have lost family during this time. And I think one thing that has tried to keep people going is to see their family again. And so many people are never going to see their family again. So, what keeps us going after that? Who will we go back to see? Well, I was also writing about how there are children, to grandchildren, who have yet to ever see a war. There are our unborn children who have yet to be born that have yet to see a war. We are doing it for them.
Mm.
That's what our ancestors would tell us. Like, I'm not here anymore, but please keep fighting because there is a future Tigray. There is a Tigray waiting for us in the future. There are Tigrayans in the future.
Mm. Who will we go back to see? I want to talk about one of your pieces, and it really, really touched me. It's an elderly mother or grandmother figure. She has a
Mm-hmm.
big ball of white cotton hair and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of worky and gold, and
Mm-hmm.
she's really troubled. Her face is very sad, and or maybe not sad, but contemplative. She looks like she's really
Mm-hmm.
thinking, and she has her arms sort of wrapped around what I see as a crystal ball, I guess,
Yeah.
or something like that. And
Yeah.
in that crystal ball is an image of El Najashi Mosque, and
Mm-hmm.
it's powerful to me because the mosque is intact and
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, not broken. Because as we all
Mm-hmm.
know, the Ethiopian government, bombed. That was one of the historical sites that was
Yeah.
bombed in this war. And
Yes.
that she's holding that ball and everything is good, everything is
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, makes me think
Mm-hmm.
that she's giving us some insight into the future, into what's to
Yeah.
come. Beautiful Tigray,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
whole Tigray. So it
Mm-hmm.
really, really touched me. Can you talk about that image and why you
Yeah.
painted it and what what your message was in that painting?
Mm-hmm. So I painted that mosque before, after it was bombed, and I painted it, with the damage done. And I've done a lot of paintings of damage because that is a reflection, a documentation of this time. But there came a day where I was just like, oh, there's so much destruction and damage, and I have so much damage in my heart because of all of this. And I need something to keep going, and I need to give my people something else to keep going because all we have are images of destruction of our home and of our people now. Even when you Google Tigray on Google, all the images are of war. It wasn't like that 11 months ago. It's just so crazy to see. But I had to create an image that doesn't exist in real life. I had to create an image of our future because we will go back and rebuild that mosque. We will go back and rebuild our homes. We will build Tigray even stronger and more beautiful and more developed than it ever was before. And so that painting was a grandmother who was an ancestor, um, holding an image of the future to Grai. And she's saying, like, this is our future. We have to keep going now.
Mm, mm. Wow. There's another image also equally as beautiful. It's this mesmerizing image of it's a sort of a side profile of a Tigrayan woman or girl.
Mm-hmm.
She has the beautiful braids and she's wearing the warki, but she has a Kalashnikov over her shoulder. She has a
Mm-hmm.
gun over her shoulder. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking at that image and it's the beauty of it is really mesmerizing, but it's equally frightening. Can you
Mm-hmm.
talk about and let's be real, what this war has played out on the bodies of women and girls,
Yeah.
and they are in such a or were or are in a very precarious and scary situation. Can you talk about this image and what you were trying to say?
What I was saying with that is just all you were speaking of, like people's lives have been flipped upside down. Regular people who were just going about their life, women who were mothers, who were wives, who had yet to get married, who had yet to just live their life, all these beautiful things they had planned, like just regular people. And then one day their life gets just flipped upside down. And so I had her in her jewelry, as if she's on her way to an event or a wedding or a big day in her life, but that was all stopped because of a war. So
Mm,
that's what that image was saying. And also, you were saying before how this war, how women's bodies and rape has been used as a weapon in this war. Um, it's it's disgusting. What else can be said? I mean, sometimes that's what an image can do. It can say um, what has already been repeated so much, and also what we can never put words on.
absolutely. Absolutely. And to me, another thing was that she still had all of her gold and her traditional braids was, I still
Mm-hmm.
have my dignity. I still have
Yeah,
me in spite of
yeah,
it. I will fight back. It's like the resistance photo of I am me and I'm proud of me and I will fight back. Just
yes,
really
yes.
powerful, powerful picture.
Mm-hmm.
What does creating art do for you and your soul and your spirit? And how do you hope that it will impact other people who see it?
It keeps me going. It's literally the only thing that keeps me going. If I feel like I don't want to do a painting anymore, I do filmmaking, I do my animation, I can story tell in so many different ways. There are stories that can't fit into a painting, and I have to make the film. There are stories where a film won't tell it the way a painting will, or a poem with a painting will. So it's an outlet, it's a release, it's how I can express myself. And um, I'm a person where sometimes social media can get so tiring, not just for me, but for all of us. And uh, there are only so many times we can, like says something over and over again, I feel like it's not being heard. I feel that an image, and that's why protest art is so powerful, that it really captures a person differently than a hashtag that they see every day will, or a saying that they see every day will, that people choose to just scroll past. You can just scroll past things. An image does something different to you. So it helps me personally, it helps me to cope. It helps me to keep going. It helps me to visualize what is not in front of me in our lives right now, for all of us. And I'm hoping, and a lot of people have told me, that it's helped them. It's given them a mirror, a reflection of what they're feeling. It's just, art is healing. It's a tool of healing, and I hope that I will be able to bring it back home soon.
I do believe that art has the power to activate and influence and change culture as well. So thank you for all the work that you're doing. You'll be in DC in the next couple of days. Yes. So we look forward to seeing
I'm leaving tonight.
Okay. Well, we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you for your time, Gabrielle. And thank you for your work. I hope you keep creating.
Thank you. No problem.
And so now we will transition to music. Music created this past year. I want you to take a listen to this snippet from Bedaya Hene by Teddy Guerre. He is our next guest.
سلام طيب تحكى حياتي ضميرة سلام تهلقا أنت تنافقي جكنا قبل أرحاني برخا أنت وحس حزبي وحس تراي وحس عدب بخاي يسعب خلا وخلا عجاخا حفتخا حاوخا حين امكفدو كقارلو كوينا ما بغن خاي ما قدر كخونو خاي كيني مام كبلونا ملسنا نكفر لمسهم كبلونا نترن انتر كم مسمارنا وقع نستم نخر دك حلال مريت دك قنوع مسمر دك تبعت دك تبعت دك فتحي دك سرعت دك تقراي راي 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 دك عباي هاجر أبقرك أحسو درق مسفوتي تترائسو نقصرو قالو ريسات خلسيسو زحزحهم ببرين مرحتم حاويسو بزي ملاس وري كله تلاحسو أبك صار بجد زت شمتا بنايد خابجت تن هليكوبتر أرقف خاين تنجت أب جوا ماري كوينات مسحمري أصور مسحرري انبر فرايحني وين بعال سري قريس قابل دميا كم زين بري سيو ماي سميخات حمشش كايم بري جغانو سميخات عقوق قلم بري علم دنسي وهناي كوينات كاتبب كابخران بخران كم نفاس حنبب حزب خاصمي كان يوالد مخصب حمتدش كحيزكاس شدش تتركب حدا نبين خش حتى شبري من انت زحالر سلع عباي تقراي من انت زحالر سلع عباي تقراي من انت زحالر سلع عباي تقراي جنن التمهيرن يا يبركليلو كان زاني حرانه كم زي عبللو مقصدين صنعات كم زي دهللو ادمان جننات كم زي خلكلو طلع المنسي تعلم تدالو دشكا بره قماط يتقبلو جدنين كابكوري زي ترفقلو ببرين عيا خالي صلاحي خاقلو مسكين همم كبلونا ملسنا نكفر لبيسهم كبلونا نترن انتر كم مسمارنا وقعنا ستم نخر دك حلال مريت دك قنوع مسمر دك زنقت دك تبقت دك فتحي دك سرقت دك تقراي راي 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 دك عباي هاجر نبلت وريدو من دفت حنينو اتتسره هزبو سرسبو عدو مسدرق وكينو زرايات سديدو عبزي من تبيتو مسات وكيدو عبقان ديدو بركو تقوش ميدو اي زتاخو سيلس كتما حريدو عدتات دفيرو هزانات حريدو وانا قريبا كركم نايدو ميرت دقيفة درونا ساتيفة من دفن تمتت ششونا سليفة سومال تزمتت قرب حليفة فوتين تسعبت درقت دقيفة إنا نقر كاين تقراي كي حرفة عدير متسكوينا كم قتل رايقفة درار زقي خونا عبا أترفة مقبري تنكوينا كلن ترفرفة علم دنسي وهنا كوينات كاتبب كابخران بخران كم نفس حنبب حزب خاصمي كان اي ولد ومخسب حنت دشك حيزكاس شدش تتركب حدا نبين خش حتى شبري من انت زحالر سلع عباي تقراي من انت زحالر سلع عباي تقراي من انت زحالر سلع عباي تقراي جنن تميرن يا يبرك ليلو كان زاني حرانه كم زي عبللو مقصدين صنعت كم زي دهللو ادمن جننت كم زي خلكلو ترى علمن سي تعلم تدالو دشكا بره قمات يتقبل جدنين كاب كوني زي ترفقلو ببرين يا خايد سلاحي خاقلو
Fadai Hane is an amazing song. And with us, we have the writer and singer, Teddy Guerra. Thank you, Teddy, for being with us.
Well, thank you guys for having me. And you're Fadai Hane too, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's talk about the song. How did you come to write the song? And also, can you talk about the title and what the title means, because it's so powerful. You know, the intro, you have the wounded soldier when he's saying, you know, Tigray Ta'wat, and it's a really emotional, touching song. So how did you come to write it, and tell us a little bit about the title?
Well, okay, just to start from the beginning, I think when I start off Fadahna poem writing, was following, as every Tigrayan is following about his back home, with a big concern and worry. So you know, guys, you have been there, and you know how have been hard and just devastating for every Tigrayans for that at that moment, especially at that moment. So well, inside from inward feeling, just I knew that we would get here today. But you know, when you see things are like a bit like complicated, and things just overlapping over us, just kind of adversity on top of adversity, problem on top of problem. So you would, as a human, you know, you would think of what's going on So at that moment, I saw that fighting, the Wayanai fighting, and just he wouldn't even consider about his leg or his wound or whatever pain on him. So only thing he was thinking was just that he was sure that we're gonna win because we're fair, we're the victims, we're doing the right thing. So that inspired me at that moment. I don't have that kind of feeling all the way, but that time was a special moment for me normally I wouldn't give a title before I write the ideas, just put together the ideas, and finally I would pick one of the main ideas of the entire collective ideas. Mm-hmm. So at that moment, I just already gave it there, right there. So yeah, this guy is فرحنا, just thinking of his age. I would say he would be probably at 60ish or above, right? So in that, I can see that courage, I can see that strength, I can see that he was trying to transfer it right there to the younghood, and he did. Then I said it, and I said, I'm gonna write something about this. I just picked my pen, just jot it down. I would say within 30-40 minutes, the lyrics was done.
Wow.
Yeah, done, because it is from my inward feeling. It's not something that I'm doing it for purpose of, you know what I mean? I was like thinking about the guy still, our hero still. Well, I have more ideas about the song, but you cannot write, for songs, you cannot go beyond that kind of, you need a small thing that for people to reflect your feelings and stuff. So Fadahna just came there. Fadahna on the elder generation, Fadahna on the young generation, and Fadahna on the coming little ones too. So this guy was the main key person for me, just to show the entire transforming of feelings and strengths and courageousness of Tigrayans to the youngsterhood. So that's why I said Fadahna, because at that moment, if you notice that video, they had been doing great and just killing so many enemies, and unfortunately he ended up wounding. So
I have to tell you, Freddy, I finally came to understand Tigrinya music in the last year. I grew up my whole life listening to Tigrinya music at home with my family. I grew up in the diaspora, but in the last year, it clicked for me. I finally understood why Tigrinya music focuses so much on the people, on freedom, on fighting for freedom. And, it finally clicked for me. How long have you been singing?
Well, I've been singing for so long, I would say, parallelly with my other professions. I have been singing, but when we say singing, it has been with me, since I would say in Tigray's calendar, I would say 83. I was singing on different states, working for government organizations.
Yeah.
So
you're a civil engineer by profession.
Yeah. Yes.
Very educated man.
And then I was an accountant in back home, just completely shifting after I just moved to Canada. Yeah. Kind of multi.
Sorry. Has your music changed? Has the type of Tigrinya music that you were singing 10 years ago compared to the music you make now? Has it changed because of what's happened over the last year, or tell me about the type of music you've always created?
Well, yes, absolutely changed. Yeah, to be honest, we were in a small box since 83, still Tigrayan calendar I'm talking about. Since 1983, yes, if some of us were thinking that we were in a good position, in a good freedom, but it wasn't. We haven't been. We haven't been. I have been on that pain spot like since being working in Addis Ababa, being not able to even talk your own language, being just systematically being like to feel like be scared and just ashamed of yourself. In other words, just we were trying to pretend to be someone else. But when you come back and just check, why am I doing this? There's nothing like direct resistance or something that to tell you that, hey, you shouldn't be yourself. Just be someone else or be look like me. Just switch to me or something. But there were systematic things that hasn't been done. I remember when I was working at this, I think that was 93. Still that was 93 or something. A little bit strike was going on, and so many Tigrayans were victim of that oppression. And yeah, I was kind of, if you notice my songs in that time, they were most of pretty much about love and trying even to correct that uncorrectable thing, to be honest. We were trying hard to correct that uncorrectable thing. If one of my songs, if you remember, that was saying this Hadanukhun kind of idea. Just let's not focus on our colors, on our language, or our whatever. Just we don't have like the same identity from inside. Just say human is human, so let's be together. The different ethnicity group should be the beauty of the our thing. So yes, we have been trying hard to bring it into a good way, but they have been working hard to eliminate us. That absolutely exposed openly in on these days.
Yeah, Teddy,
So yes, it was about love, but nowadays it's not about love. It's kind of, sam'an warqan in Tigrinya means, when I think of my poems, to write my poems, it's about my people mainly. When I think of my people, I want it to like a technical, an artistic way of expression, not like straight, but something. What does he mean? I wanted people to ask.
Yes.
Some of them understand, some of them they don't. So right. I kind of, yeah.
I always say, Teddy, that Tigrayans were the biggest cheerleaders of Ethiopia. We were the biggest cheerleaders. We wanted to be one. We were even willing to ignore a lot of the problems and pains of Tigray and Tigrayans in order to be one Ethiopia. We really did try. And so I understand what you're saying when you say that, your songs have transformed from that into now about survival and resistance. That's what I hear when I hear your songs. I want to read one of the lines in your song that really, really struck my heart. You said, it's one of my favorite lines, but you say, Ajohum, your children are right behind you. And you have, obviously in Tigrinya, but powerful images of really powerful Tigrayans who are fighting for their families, including Alula Solomon, Maaza Gide, and even Donat Girmay, and that brave little girl who stood up to the soldiers and was teaching them in spite of being a little girl. The song reminds me, if you think of like a relay race, and one person runs and they have a baton, and when they get to a certain point and they're exhausted, they pass the baton back to somebody else and then that person takes off with new energy. That's what I hear when I hear that line, when you say that your kid, they're right behind. Yeah, they're right behind. Yes. Yes.
That means you're not alone.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, every Tigran is following you. Well, to be honest, if you notice that from myself too, we were thinking of there's a little gap in between the elder ones and the youngsters, right? That was visible. And well, to be honest, sometimes I say like, well, thank you for letting this happen. Just I think it's a kind of letting us ourselves, like knowing ourselves very well, and helped us to be determined, just at least not to make another cheap mistake. You know what I mean? So yes, well, thank you, because you see, it was difficult to bring that youngster in completely different world to this moment and just create a good bond in between those. To be honest, even I was a blamer of the elder one, right? As everyone, because of, no, this shouldn't have happened. That was, as you said, we were the cheerleaders. So fortunately, thanks God that our elders didn't die, passed away before we see their heroic, adventurous nature. We were almost complaining on them, and just if they would have been passed away, and the youngster by itself wouldn't do anything just without those bonds, right? So that's a kind of like a good alert for Tigrayans, especially.
Yes.
And now it's not gonna. Yeah.
We allowed Ethiopia to villainize our elders, and we allowed Ethiopia to tell our story, in spite of it not being accurate or true. And even worse, we bought into that story. And so I understand what you're saying. Someone might hear you say earlier, in a way, you're glad this happened. I know what you mean. Not that all these people have suffered, not that all of these crimes have happened, but the fact that the irony of Abiy Ahmed trying to destroy Weyane. People don't understand. Weyane is not a person. Weyane is an ideology. Weyane is about revolution. And so in his attempt to destroy Weyane, he actually brought a whole new generation and generations into the fold, and actually strengthened Weyane, the ideology. So I understand what you mean by that. I want to read another line, really powerful line that I love. And I listen to your music often, especially if I need a boost. Music is powerful. It gives you energy, and it gives you hope, and it gives you, it can change your whole mood. And so you have a line. And so, my Tigrinya, obviously I grew up in America, so we'll just go with my accent here. Okay.
No, I like that.
you say dak halal maret. Okay. And you say, dak sir'at, dak tigray, dak abay hagar.
Yeah.
I love that line. It speaks to our souls, because if you listen to how the story is being told, it's being told as both sides this, both sides that. But we know that Tigrayans are fighting fair. They're fighting fair even in spite of what's happened to their families, the rape, the gang rape, the mass murder, the executions, the wholesale destruction of their entire state of Tigray, and still the respect that the average Tigrayan and that TDF has going out. And so when you say dak sir'at, it's powerful. Yes. It's powerful, and it's mood changing, and it reminds us, of how to fight back and the language to use when we fight back. So what are your thoughts on that, and just the stories that are being told?
I think you already mentioned it. The thing is, it says دق فتحي دق سرعات دق صنعات دق تبعات. In a sense, we own all the things that a human being supposed to have, right? So we're فتحاويان. Technically, that's why they got to this deep because we weren't as low as them, right? I think that's why when I say دك فتحي, it's kind of when you say it's a justice, right? We're not justified. We're justice ourselves, kind of feeling. Okay, and the سرعات is سرعات, right? A system. We always are. We always do things based on the rules and regulations, kind of. Yeah. So yes, it is explaining the entire Tigraways, I think, attitude kind of thing. So yes.
And way of living and way of life, you know, that we still value life, even though our lives were not valued. And even though all of those heinous crimes against humanity and flat out genocide happened, we're still not willing to go into other, even as they marched to Addis Ababa, we're still not willing to do what was done to us. And I think that's what's so powerful about your music. And I think that's what we hear. And that's why, for me at least, it opened up my understanding of Tigrinya music and the power of Tigrinya music. So Fadai, it hit us deep, 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 deep in our souls, Teddy. Thank you so much for your music. I hope you keep creating. We look forward to hearing more and more from you. Your music is playing a role in our liberation and how we see ourselves. So I'm so grateful to you. Thank you for all you do.
Oh, thank you guys for having me, and keep doing the great job. You have been trying your very best to just, you guys are one of our inspirations. Like, you know, we're inspirations for each other, but just, I'm so proud of you guys, especially who have been just born out of Tigray, but working hard and struggling as in every Tigrayan has been just growing in back home. So I'm so, I appreciate your every bit of activities, and just to go ahead and send. And for your information, you and your crew are just one of my video clips supers. Unfortunately, the video had so many issues, as you know.
Yes.
But yeah.
That's right. That's right. In the very first version, I was in that clip.
Yeah.
That's right. Thank you, Teddy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great day.
Our next guest needs little introduction. He may have single-handedly helped every Tigrayan parent finally understand the role of rap music in activism. Take a listen.
ويلك زرا نقصت صباحي وعرو
أنا جا دخلت على
Go time I think I made him mad with that TDF بالحسب اللو تحشو Are you ready yet أبا خمن علولا أيا خاخ حيالهم قلت تم حمشي شاب اللهم باو عدوخ من كوين صبا أبا خخ أمورا قلت تم درعم باليوم وعرو شي وعرو yeah. It's the goddess with the AK, she be blazing, ayy, day, got them on a mayday, hands up, bow down, it's my sisters with a chopper, what now, load up, more rounds, we be dropping helicopters to the ground, mama raised a hero, daddy made me stubborn, hop off mountains, nigga, since I was 11, I guess the spirit of my fathers got me elevating, shitty bang till we fall, ain't no contemplating, ودي تقرأي عين بركخن مسا باقي عايز اللفن هانتي حساب عاي حلفن نزي قبرو عاي لفلفن بلوم yeah بلوم It's crazy how the tables turn, huh? For the past 315 days I kept on partying and popping bottles on dead babies and burning churches. And now I wake up to a video of my sister celebrating Ashen down on the battlefield. I think I made him mad with that TDF بالحسب اللو تحشو Are you ready yet أبا خمن علولا أيا خاخ حيالهم قلت تم حمشي شاب اللهم باو عدوخ من كوين صبا أبا خخ عمورا قال تم 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 درعم عم باليوم وعرو 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 يا اي رادو اي سراوي تقراي تتبع جقنا حبنا تقارو قشا مغتنا نرق على بعل ونغور عطناينا كم سابغم جاميتي كم سابغم حالفتي نفتح حارنت تغفلو مسواتي نزبينا تصنت هيوتكم قبرتي سمي آلي تبل تامه لي وتكا قالت لي قلتو تقمات حليفكا عقبة ديبكا كل واردكا كعرف لي تبل تنو علمها اللي يابل وعرو تقراويتي حرينا لوتا تنبيلا مقزاتي أفو موزا تبيتا تستبلغا حانت بينا أشحة توديغا دشكا تغيلا تقواد دومالا فحتن قرح كم دك زاقرا تقراي لدفارة عبا تغبرا باليوم 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 I think I made it mad with that titty ass بالحز بلو تحشو are you ready yet أبا خامن علولا أيا خاخ حيلهم كالتم تم حمشي شاب اللهم باو عدوخ ما نكون صعبا أبا خخ أمورا قالتم تم تم درعم عم باليوم وعرو 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 yeah they started shit they couldn't finish now they running back brought me shades to a gunfight everybody clap all that flower in the air turn into a brick future mothers of my nation coming for your head you can start the bag yeah or you pay the price black dog from the back might get the bite oof I do this for my people no we not no equals all you bending threats I'm a little crippled I put that on my mama yeah I'm by that drama just because you kill civilians that don't make you gunners just because you murder kids that don't make you winners it's funny beats I'm hella paid TDF is coming yeah 1 minute with great concerns and no actions putting diplomacy before lives they sit back and watch the evil conflict great pain upon the innocent so quick to give Nobel prizes and yet slow to act to save lives huh what a shame I think I made it mad with that TDF بالحز بلو تحشو are you ready yet أبا خامن علولا أيا خاخ حيلهم قالتم تم تم حمشي شاب اللهم باو عدوخ ما نكون صعبا أبا خخ أمورا قالتم تم تم درعم عم باليوم وعرو 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 يا
ككندي جيتخي قلبت على واسخي شرط تعميمخي ككند سيخي الطعب مأنتكي برين عتيكي يا عوية تبلي إمام تشكيمخي أتحفتي جقنا كوري أبا أخي عشان دان مخته إلو كل دياسبورا مسخته أنا لا يا عوية سيئة عشان دي قوي من دي أنا ون أبقون نخي أبقون حزب تقرأي كم عالم تقللو تتفني من قد تعتيو حزبين تتأمين كله تخلخيلا بقزع عدا إنه أبقل معينات تتقتر ولادا عدين تبرس قنبلان توردا كله قداليفا برخا وريدا أنا ون حدر لني حدر ناتكي ناتي زبلو من النتكي كمل أويه اتقلا ماخي يا عويه عشان ديه أنس قوال من ديه تقمكي تقمي تميتكي تميتي الجامي كوفي الله خلقا هزبي قالي قالكم ديو بعرخس تقمكا تقمنا تميتكا تميتنا الجامنا كنوفي قالنا كلاتنا رايت عوت
That is the resistance anthem. And I have the song's writer and rapper, singer. Q is in the house today. Q, welcome to the show. Welcome to Tigray Media House.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yes. Oh my goodness. So We also have a special guest, Leah, with us, who is on your follow-up to TDF, Wa'ro. And so we're going to go to Wa'ro in a minute, but I want to talk to you first about TDF. You know, I was talking to Gabrielle earlier in this show. She's a visual artist, and we were talking about how, you know, does life mimic art or does art mimic life? And one of the things that this song did is it completely transformed the feeling of Tigrayans in the diaspora, and probably even in Tigray who heard it. We went from profound sadness to the height of resistance with this song, you know, and that's why I say TDF is the resistance anthem. Tell us about why you wrote this song and what it means.
I wrote the record right after I realized that no matter how long I was waiting for them to realize, friends of mine from Ethiopia were not gonna realize it. And mid after the 8 months of horrible things, my mom was able to reach out to me. She made it to Mekelle safely. And after I heard so many horrible stories from her, I was depressed, and I was really, really in a bad place. And those friends asked me what happened, and I told them, I explained everything that I heard. And instead of, you know, you would expect a friend would be like, hey, I'm so sorry it's happening to you. Instead, they said it could be a propaganda. And at that moment, I didn't know what to do, how to react to it. But a day later, it just ate me up a lot. Like, I can't believe they still believe it's a propaganda, even on my mom. And so I wrote the record because when I heard TDF recaptured Mekelle, it was almost like unreal for me. Like, they kept telling us they done turned into a dust and this and that, and you know, the hope was crushed. I was crushed for almost 8 months. I had no way to talk. And then I realized no matter how long we wait for them, they're not gonna back down. The hate is too deep for them to realize that our people are being killed, our sisters are being raped, our dads are being shot and thrown over the cliff. All I had to do was just collect all those information and just put them to words. And honestly, when I did the record, it was to them. Okay, you said we was done, but the children of Tigray are not done yet. They freed our people regardless. They still in trouble food-wise, but I wrote it out of anger. That's the only way I could let it out.
Rap has always been a tool for social change, and it's also been an outlet to get your rage out. And I feel like Tigrayans, we've gone through in the last year, we've been in the middle of a war. Even if we're here, we've been in the middle of a war. And we haven't been able to really process the rage. And what TDF did, the song, was give us a way to let that out. And so you did that in a way that, you know, my elderly mother, she's in her 60s, and she's listening to your song and like dancing to it, like TDF. And I'm like, oh, now you like rap? Yeah. I think, Q, what you did single-handedly, you helped an entire generation of Tagaru parents finally understand their children and their love of rap music.
Yeah. No, I also feel like, although I didn't expect the reaction from my people, which felt like, it was like an energy I couldn't stop contracting from everybody. Everywhere I go, everybody said good things about it. And the thing about it is, and I hope this record, this kind of anger expression, like you said, music has been the biggest weapon, even here in America, all over the world, right? I just hope our families understand that at times when things are really hard, that's the only way we can express our feeling, or else it will kill us inside. You know what I'm saying? Like, you keep so much inside you, it could turn to a depression. It could lead to so many bad things and dark paths in life. So it's okay sometimes if they kind of, you know, let us express ourselves a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit.
Yes. You said something powerful. If you hold that in, it will kill you.
It will kill you.
It will kill you. That's absolutely right.
I was in a bad depression. I was really, really in a bad place. Family worried, everything, because we all have a way of coping. I didn't know how to cope.
And you know what? We know that there have been awful things have happened, including to Tigrayans in the diaspora. There are people who have committed suicide because they couldn't handle not being able to help their families, not being able to reach their families. So that's very real what you're saying. I want to read, and so, you know, I grew up in the States, and so my Tigrinya, you guys give me a pass, okay? But I'm gonna read a part of your words, and you show a clip of General Tzadkan in it, and you say, نهزب تجراي كنبركح إلكا محساب زي حلم نجريو كن عواتنا كن الزاربو مينا. Whoo!
Yes. Abiy Ahmed kept saying, I don't know if I can mention his name, but he kept saying it was done with. He kept thinking, as if it was a game, a child game he was playing, like as if he's not attacking his own people. I never understood that part. And so when I looked at his, like I kept looking at his interviews, and he just don't make sense. And yet General Tzadkan would only say one thing in a year. Real men don't talk, real men do.
You know, you're given history lessons in your music, and I know you know that, and that's really powerful. So, and I'm going to bring Leah in a second to talk about Wa'ro, and I want her to recite some lines because Wa'ro is also very, very powerful. But first, from TDF, you say, how can they kill my mother? How can they rape my sister? They told us we were brothers. I wish we knew those busters. You said, so you killed my pops, huh? You burned the crops, huh? You shot my brother, throw him off the cliffs, huh? Your daddy failed, so you had to try. Talk about that. Talk about what you're saying there.
Because this is what it felt like. Growing up when I was a kid, I know I left early, but my grandma would tell me, or anybody, my neighbors, my mom, everybody would tell me that the war was the most horrible thing they had to experience. My grandma had to hide under caves and this and that. This, I'm talking about the past one, the other one. And I realized later on, I found out it actually did happen before the previous one too. And it feels like every time they're trying to dwindle our number in the best possible way they could. They know they can't win. They know, because they tried, like I said in the record, because if they kept trying this whole time, then it's just a try. It's just, they know they are a larger number than us. They know they can keep trying every 30, 40 years and reduce our numbers. And so for me, the hardest part seeing in this war was an older gentleman with khuta. Back home, they call it this white thing. And he has all this thing on his head, like a priest. He was shot right after the young man was shot. I felt like these soldiers in Tigray killing our people were trying to fulfill something their dads didn't do. And I know this is, I'm not a politically correct person. I feel how I say what I feel. And I feel they fell again. And this should be the last time they should do it.
Very real, very, very real. I want to bring Leah in. Leah, you say a poem in Wa'ro, which is the second song that Q put out, the follow-up to TDF. And by the way, that song Wa'ro, I feel like that was for the women and the girls and the elderly, our grandmothers who were abused in this war. In fact, the song starts, Wa'ro. Really, really beautiful entry. Leah, how did you get involved and how did you become a part of this, about a part of this song?
So my aunt, she wrote a poem and she loves the way that I recite poems. And so she told me, she said, I'm going to write a poem and I want you to recite it for Ashinda because we were doing Ashinda Nimakhata, you know? And so I decided, I said, okay, no problem. So I recited the poem at Ashinda in Atlanta. And I decided to make a video of me reciting it as well to share it with my followers and, you know, every Tagaro Tigrawiti around the world. And when I posted it on Instagram, Q hit me up and he was like, oh my gosh, like the lyrics to this to this poem is amazing. And so he, after a few days, he DM'd me and said, I want to add this to my new song, Wa'ro. And I told him, okay, that's fine. And he was like, did you write it? And I was like, no, my aunt did, but I'm sure she wouldn't mind. And so afterwards, we got into contact. We, made it work somehow, some way, and he put it into the Wa'aro song. And I remember my aunt was telling me, I wish I knew this before. I would have made it so much better. But yeah, that's how we entered it.
Yeah. And I want you to recite some of that. But first, as a woman, young woman, and knowing what has happened to the women and the girls in Tigray, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, I feel like we've had this range of emotions of being really afraid and scared, and then you that graduates to anger, and then you have the stories of people like Mona Lisa who fought back. And what are your thoughts about what's happened? And now they can't get services. There's no services. There are no hospitals. There's no medicine. So the women who are no longer being raped because they were able to beat back the aggressors still don't have services for what has happened to them. What are your thoughts about the condition of women in Tigray?
Well, as a human being, first of all, the things that I've seen, the things that I've heard over the past year are things that I've never seen or heard in history, or even watched or seen in horror movies. Like the things that we've seen, the things that we've heard throughout the past year is something that has scarred me like for life. I can't continue to talk because it'll make me emotional. I'm so sorry if I have to. But it's one of the most, like, it's worse than, they make the devil look like an angel. Yeah, they make Satan look like, I can't. It's
painful. It's you almost want to not believe it. You want to feel like it didn't really happen. And then, which is even worse when people gaslight you and tell you it didn't happen, right? And you're like,
exactly. That's the crazy part.
Yeah, it's frustrating. Will you
use it as propaganda?
Will you recite a few words from that poem? It's so powerful.
Sure. Which part did you want me to recite from?
Whatever you like, whatever's speaking to you.
If I start, I have to go from the beginning to the end.
Do it. The whole thing. Do it. It's worth it.
Okay. Owa kakindi gaitsi gilvich alwasuhi shrit ta'amimhi kakindisiyahi itaq ma'annatki brain atiki ya awiye tibli imam tashakimhi athaftay jagna qori aba'akhi عشان نمخته إلو كل دياسبورا مسختته أنا لا يعوية سياية عشندية قال من ديه أنا ون أبقون نخيه أبقون حزب تقرأيه كاو عالم تقليلو تتفأني من قد تعديو حزبين تتأمني كل تغلخيلا بقزع عدا إنه أبقن معينا تتقتل ولادا عدين تبرس قنبلان توردا كله قدادفا برخة وريدا وأنا ون حدر لني حدر ناتكي ناتي زبلو من النتكي كمل أيه اتعلا ماخي يعويه عشنديه عنس قال من ديه تقمكي تقمي تميتكي تميتي الجامي كوفي علو خلقا هزبي قالكم ديو مبعركس أجمكات أجمنا تميتنا الجامنا كنوفي علنا كلاتنا رايت عوض.
That's exactly what got me.
Ooh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that piece, and thank your aunt for that piece. That is so beautiful. Really, really well done. The irony, and I said this earlier in the show, is that Abi's goal was to kill Weyane. Weyane is an ideology. Weyane means revolution. You cannot kill an ideology. You cannot kill revolution. And so what we've seen is how his plan backfired and actually brought everyone together. So many in the diaspora who are so very different, right? Tigrayans are not a monolith. We're a very different, diverse group of people, even if we are all Tigrayans.
Yeah.
And so I thank you all for the art that you've put together. Just really quick, Q, you're like a celebrity now in our, I mean, you were making music before, but now it's like Tigrayans are going crazy. Like,
I'm feeding off that energy though. That's a good thing, because right now, one thing I realized that I always told my people, my family, that I wish I could write a Tigrinya lyrics, right? But all this pain, all this betrayal that by the entire nation broke the real Tigray out of me. Mm-hmm. And now I just finished record with Marka Bonitwa, and then I got another song coming soon as well. So there's so much to come. Of course, there can only be two anthems when it comes to Wa'aro and TDF soldiers, to the heroine sisters I got and my brothers out there. But I will make more different music. I have plans of introducing Tigrinya to East Africa music scene. Yeah. I speak Swahili. So I'm, I can mix it up a little bit.
Wait, you speak Swahili?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
It's amazing how talented this man is, Melissa. Like,
wow.
Oh my gosh. He is amazing.
That is what has amazed me about this too. When you think about who are the people who are dying in Tigray right now, they are smart, talented, contributing, you know what I mean, brilliant minds. And that's no different than in the diaspora. So I had no idea you speak Swahili. Amazing. Yeah. Just amazing. Yeah, I want to repeat what you said. You said the betrayal brought the Tigrinya out of me. That's really powerful. By the way, the bars in Wa'aro, who's the other guy who's rapping with you? Because he is really good too. There was someone else.
It's a young man by the name Radov Junta. He lives in the United Kingdom, and I wrote Wa'aro because I felt like it was my obligation to actually make sure to include that. Mm-hmm. Because yes, on TDF I kept saying TDF is all one together. But in those ad libs I do in the background, I kept saying I but I never said I I was in Dallas at the airport waiting for my flight, listening to the beat, boom, 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 boom. I wrote the hook. Reached out to this young, because I kept saying, you know what, I'm gonna keep, the young ones involved. I know they might not like my rap style because I do it a little bit different, but it's okay. We can work together. And surprisingly, he was a dope artist. He did what he was told. He did his verse the way I expected him. In fact, more than I expected. And so it was for my sisters, and I had to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you both. Thank you for sharing your work. Thank you for recording history. We're taking back our stories now, and we're doing that. Literally, we'll do it in books, but also through music and through art. We have to do that. So thank you all. You are very powerful and important people in this fight in helping free Tigray. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate your work. Thank you for being guests on my show today.
Thank you for having us, Melita.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. And all of these artists are such an inspiration. So please go check out their work. We had Gabrielle, who will be in DC. You can go and look at her actual visual art. You can go on YouTube and look up Q's music. You have TDF, I call that the resistance anthem, and Wa'aro as well. And of course, Rayhane by Teddy Guerra. So thank you all. Take care.